It is live. Hello, apologies for the delay. Hi and welcome to the Facebook Live tonight. I'm Juliette Martin. If we haven't met before, hello and welcome, and I hope you enjoy tonight. And for those of you that are joining live, if you can say hi in the chat box. I'm using a new Facebook dashboard tonight, so it's a little bit disorienting, but I'll get there. Okay. So thank you for joining. Tonight we're talking about grief and loss during this time of change. With COVID-19, it's a very interesting time and there's a lot of changes happening. So I want to talk to that, speak to that, because I've had quite a few clients this week who are experiencing a sense of sadness over the last week. Obviously it's Monday today. So over this Easter weekend and the week before, clients experiencing a sense of sadness at some of the changes that are happening and the way that's impacting on their life. And I'm not sure whether I can see the chat box here. I'm sorry for the disruption. I'm just trying to figure out. Hopefully I'll be able to see what's coming up in the chat box because it is a very different Facebook setup. So, for a lot of people, we're into week 3 of the lockdown. And the first week is all fresh and new and we're kind of floundering and finding our feet. And the second week we start to get a little bit more grounded in the different energy, and then come the third week, we're kind of feeling this new rhythm and not quite sure what it is and what it's about. And that's when the sense of loss can set in, where we're really noticing the changes and the things that are no longer there that used to be there. And it can be a bit like the seasons, when the seasons change. And in winter time, you know, the first month it's all fresh and new, the cool weather, and the second month you're settling into it, and then by the third month you're kind of a bit like, I wish this was over. So I don't know what's happening with this dashboard. I hope you can all see it. So this cycle of coming to the third week or the third month or the third year can bring with it a sense of a bit of a heavier energy and like, oh, this change that initially was temporary is kind of here to stay for a bit longer than I was expecting. And so it can really bring in a sense of sadness and some of the emotions that can come up with grief and loss and change that we're not necessarily anticipating. We're anticipating that we're going to be experiencing. So I'm hoping I can actually see your chat if you're on the call live. It's not registering some of the normal things that I would see on my stream. I might be talking to myself this whole Facebook Live, but I will keep going and see what happens. So I wanted to put out to you, if you're on the call live, what are some of the changes that you've noticed? What are perhaps some of the losses that you've been experiencing that maybe have become a bit more into your awareness or a bit more heightened over this past week since we spoke last? Hi Simone, yeah, I can start to see some of the chats coming through. Bonjour, Simone. So yeah, what are some of the aspects of loss that you might be experiencing? Hi Margaret, thanks for saying hi. I can start to see the feed coming through now. Hi Michelle. It's a little bit funky tonight, I apologize. So maybe those of you that are on the call, if you can pop something in the chat box, just reflecting on some of the differences you've noticed. So Simone has said lack of touch is a big one. I personally am really experiencing that. I'm a very tactile person, so I feel you, Simone. Hi James, nice to have you join the call. Yes, particularly living on my own. I have my dog back with me, but he doesn't spoon me quite so well as a human being, would give me a lovely big hug, and particularly during times of loss and change, you know, we give each other hugs, and so that tactile a sense of touch is something we can be missing. Hi, Jamie. Oh, it's such a different interface. You'll have to sort of bear with me as I learn how to scroll through things. Hi, Robin. Loss of exercise routine and motivation. Eating more, yes. Missing the beach and going for drives, yeah. Particularly with the Easter long weekend, you know, ordinarily that's a time of freedom where we go and maybe we holiday or we go somewhere different, or we just have that freedom and spaciousness of time, which some of us may have an excess of at the moment, but we're not able to use it to go anywhere because of the lockdown situation. So there's a loss of our normal freedoms and some of the joys that come with it. I've got my joy cup tonight. I hope you can see that because it's Easter and the Seder, Passover time is a time of great joy, and it's been a very different long weekend, the Seder, Passover and Easter weekend for pretty much the whole world, those that might celebrate any of those aspects, and simply the lunar cycle that goes with it. I saw another comment there, but it's disappeared. So just taking a moment to close your eyes and reflect on what are some of the things that have changed for me at the moment that I might be experiencing a sense of loss or grief around. I might simply just be missing, or there's kind of a little bit of a space around that wasn't there before that feels a bit strange for me. Margaret said definitely missing hugs. Virtual hugs are just not the same. They're not. I'll give you all a big hug right now. They're definitely not the same. Freedom of being at the beach. In Australia, if you're watching in Australia, Easter time often is the best time weather-wise to be at the beach, be outdoors, be in that warm sunshine where there's a beautiful balance between the seasons. So that can be something that we're missing at the moment. Simone, also feeling blessed to be living in the countryside, yet unable to share it as many friends had to cancel their visits to stay. Yes. I think my daughter was planning a country getaway this weekend with her partner and they've had to cancel that. Swimming in the ocean, James. Yeah, so some of these things that we would ordinarily take for granted. I was meant to be going to a friend's daughter's wedding very soon, and so not just my loss there, but for her daughter and her whole family to have to postpone the wedding. A friend of my son's, her business is making wedding cakes, and she's not making any wedding cakes at the moment, so she's probably experiencing a sense of loss in her creative expression, but also all those weddings that have had to be cancelled or postponed at the moment. Not cancelled, delayed. So all of the some of these things are inconveniences, and some of them are things that we might grieve deeply. And there's also, some people I've spoken with feel almost a sense of guilt at feeling any sadness around these things when there's so much suffering, deep suffering going on for some people in the world where this virus has really taken a hold. I certainly read an article this week in the BBC about a paramedic's life at the moment in New York and what they're dealing with and what some of the families in New York are dealing with, which is beyond my comprehension. My heart was just cracking open with reading what the paramedics are going through at the moment. So sometimes we can feel, whilst we might feel a sense of sadness and loss for the changes to our life, we can also feel a sense of guilt, like, what have I got to complain about? Why am I even feeling this way when other people are experiencing so much adversity at the moment? George, for everything that is negative can also find a positive. Absolutely. Hi, Cara. Thank you for joining, and George as well. So we're just talking about loss and grief during this time of change. And it's interesting that it comes over the time of Easter and the Passover, which is a time of letting go. It's a time of death and a time of rebirth. And in order for anything to be reborn, first of all, we need to let go of something. So we can't have one without the other. Like George said, for every negative, there's also a positive. George is saying, no ironing shirts for work, no kids getting late to school, no stuck in traffic to work. those are certainly things you're probably not grieving, you're quite enjoying at the moment. So it helps to balance the energy, and certainly these Facebook Lives are not about coming together and sitting in the energy of sorrow, but as human beings, and getting to the heart of what brings us all together, because this experience is a global experience. It is something that is affecting us all. It helps to acknowledge what we are experiencing rather than simply pretending it's not there, and to acknowledge the humanness of it, and to be there for each other, with each other, as we are in this Facebook Live. Even though I'm doing the talking, your chatting really helps bring all of us together in a like-hearted community. And that's certainly something that is being birthed out of this time. There is a renaissance of community and other energies like creativity that are coming through. So there are a lot of things that are being birthed out of this time. But I did want to acknowledge, alongside of that, there is a letting go. And over this weekend of the Easter weekend, and recognizing that cycle of death and rebirth, there is something of value in that for all of us to work with that energy. And these Facebook Lives are about shifting our energy. So how can we work with that cycle that is happening at the moment, that we're in the process of letting go and rebirthing? And we're being given this extra extended time, those of us who are in isolation, to go into perhaps the emptiness of that, the silence, the quietude of that, the stillness of that, the stepping back from all of the ordinary structures that uphold our life and keep things going in the busyness, to step back from all of that and sit in that isolation, to let go of the external structures and feel within a little bit more, to reconnect with who we are at the heart of our being, and to use this opportunity to see how do we want to be as we rebirth out of this cycle that is happening at the moment. So it is an opportunity as well as a letting go. Simone has said, hi Kath, thank you for joining. Simone has said, being able to acknowledge our sadness and our guilt is important. It is, because otherwise, if we don't acknowledge it, what happens is it tends to be sitting there underneath and get stuck there as an energy that then can start to attract more energy to it, and then it becomes a blockage later on. So we don't want to take that grief with us. We want to move through the energy and allow it to be reborn into however it is able to be rebirthed at this point, or further along the track, not necessarily straight away, but it's part of the process. So what I want to do, first of all, or what I was being guided to do, was for us to just do a short process, short visualization, to just really acknowledge that energy and to allow it to transmute through that cycle of death and rebirth. Just like with every breath we take, in order to take a new breath, we need to let go of the old breath, the out breath, to take the energy of whatever it is we're experiencing individually and collectively at the moment, and allow that cycle of death and rebirth to start to happen. So I would invite you to just simply close your eyes. We're all here in this together, so let us close our eyes and just take a few slow, deep breaths. We're just going to take a couple of minutes to acknowledge this energy. So just bring your awareness into your heart center, that energy center in the middle of your chest. And just allow yourself to acknowledge any sadness you might be feeling. It might be grief or loss that you personally have been experiencing, letting go of routines, or maybe things that might have been happening at this time, expectations, desires. Just allow yourself to acknowledge any sadness or grief or loss that you might be experiencing. So just feel that in your heart. And then just acknowledging that we're all in this together. Imagine all of us very gently and simply just joining our hands as if we're forming a big circle around the earth, wherever we might be on the earth, far and wide. Just imagine we're joining hands and forming a circle around the earth and just acknowledging some of the grief, the sadness, the loss that's happening with the changes across the globe at the moment, individually and collectively. And as we imagine we're holding hands, just imagine sending out a beautiful, gentle wave of loving energy to all on the planet who might be experiencing any kind of loss at the moment, or any sadness or grief or letting go. Just offering out that gentle wave of loving energy through our hands, through our hearts, across the planet. Just really acknowledging we're all connected. That experiencing loss is part of being human. And having that empathy and compassion for everyone that might be experiencing any kind of suffering at the moment across the globe. Just sending out that loving energy. And as we do, just allow ourselves to feel thankfulness, to feel thankful for whatever it is we're thankful for at the moment, to feel that energy in our hearts. That whilst there is sadness, there is also a lot for us to be thankful for. And to just imagine that energy of thankfulness rippling out through our hands, our hearts, across the globe. Feeling and sharing that wave of thankful energy to those across the globe who might like to receive it. And particularly sending out a wave of thankfulness to those that might be giving so much at the moment to assist so many. Those that are still operating in those vital services that allow everyone else to be safe and well. Just offering our thankfulness from the heart across the globe. And then just taking a couple of slow, deep breaths. Imagine letting our hands gently go and bringing your awareness back to your body, back to the room, and just gently opening your eyes. And if you feel moved to do so, just add a word in the chat box of anything you'd like to share from that. It's a good example of how we can simply take any sadness we might be experiencing, allow ourselves to feel it, acknowledge our connection with the whole of humanity, and to then start to transmute that energy, which is that death, rebirth cycle, into thankfulness, because out of adversities there are also new opportunities and things to be thankful for. Like George was saying, there's always light that is birthed out of darkness, or good things to find out of the sadness. So does anyone want to share anything from just that very simple exercise of transmuting energy? Simone has said, in our hemisphere, time for spring clearing, which helps clear. But even with autumn down south, southern hemisphere, you can clean out drawers and other simple things to recreate that hibernation space. Yes, I didn't see that comment before, but thank you. Just taking time to breathe is a mini reset. Absolutely. The power of the breath. Some people have been experiencing with the grief sleep disturbances between 3 and 5 a.m. in the morning, and that's the time when our lungs, our lung meridian, our energy line that runs through and services the lungs, actually is at a point of reset. And the lungs are what carry the energy of grief and sadness and loss and letting go. And so if you've been having any sleep disturbances in those wee hours, it could be because there's a bit of loss happening for you, and so your body is trying to bring that to your awareness so that you can acknowledge it. So just using this process we've just done will be helpful with that. So anyone like to share anything from that little process before I go on? No? Okay. So one of the things with loss, and it doesn't matter whether it's to do with COVID or what's happening at the moment or any sense of loss in life, is that it can be sometimes be to do with our expectations not being met. And that's why it can bring up feelings of anger and blame and judgment and disappointment. So it can be more wishing things were different to what they were. Denial sometimes is an energy that we can go into because we really don't like what's happening and we find it difficult to deal with. So it's when there's change, by definition, there will usually be a sense of loss. Mark said, just a sense of sending out a beautiful purple color, a bit like amethyst to all the front lines out there. Beautiful. Thank you, Mark. That's really beautiful. So with that change, there's always a letting go. There's a loss and there's a rebirth, and in the middle there's a letting go. And I just want to speak to that a little bit because this weekend I've certainly had a very big letting go of an old energy I was holding on to that I wasn't even aware was there in the deep recesses of my soul and psyche. And so for me, it's really brought to my awareness the value of being willing to let go and cast off that shell that sometimes we're not even aware that we might be wearing or holding on to. And actually just jumped into my mind this week. I saw a clip somewhere, don't remember where it was, but it was of a snake in the process of shedding its skin. And it was the most phenomenal process to watch. This snake just kind of slithered its way out of this skin that just peeled back. And it was a total death and rebirth, death of the old skin that we wear, the way that we were, the life that we had, and a rebirth of this fresh, new state of being for this snake. And snakes hold the energy of transmutation, and that's what's going on the planet at the moment, is we're being held in this energy of transmutation, and it's coinciding with the Easter and the Passover. So, and astrologically, there's the two planets have been very close together for the first time in a long, many hundreds of years, and so they are also the energy of letting go of old structures and going within to find the rebirthing of what's really within us. So I'd like to just really take you through another visualization that gives us the opportunity to do that shedding of a skin, to do that letting go of a layer, to do that death process, that we can allow ourselves to be born fresh and new during this time, or any time that you want to let go of something, or you just feel like there's something holding you back and you might not know what it is. This is a very gentle process you can use to allow yourself to be born anew and to cast off that old shell. So it's just going to take a couple of minutes. It's a visualization, and it's really useful to do during this time, and if at any point you feel that there's a bit of letting go you'd like to do. So let us close our eyes again and just take a couple of slow, deep breaths. With each breath, breathing in fresh new energy, and each exhalation, breathing out the old. And as you do, just allow yourself to connect with the light of your higher self and to call that energy in through the crown of your head, down through the central channel of your body to anchor it down into the earth. As you just gently bring your awareness into your heart area, just being aware of the light within you. And just being in your heart space, I want you to imagine holding in your hands the you that you were before this experience started. The old you. Whoever you were, however you were, however your life might have been structured, the externalities, the internalities of what you and your life looked like before this whole COVID experience started. Imagine holding that you in your hands. Holding that energy in your hands. And then just very gently allowing any of that energy that no longer serves you to gently fall away. Any thoughts, any judgments, any belief patterns, any habits, any aspects of yourself or your life that no longer serve you. Just imagine them very gently being shed, like a shell falling away, like a skin being shed. Just allow that old energy to fall away. And as you do, casting off that energy that no longer serves you, just check in if there's anything that you need to forgive in order for you to allow yourself to let go of that energy. Any aspect of yourself you need to forgive. Any forgiveness towards others, towards life itself. Just allow yourself to acknowledge that in that letting go, there's also forgiveness to be given. As you do, really allow yourself to give that gift of forgiveness to yourself, to others, to life. For as we forgive, we allow that energy we've been holding on to be transmuted, to be born anew. And so imagine breathing a beautiful pale pink light from your heart space into that you and that life and that letting go that you're holding in your hands. Just breathing in that beautiful, loving energy of acceptance, forgiveness, of allowing. Just imagine breathing a pale pink light from your heart space into the energy in your hands. And then imagine breathing a beautiful blue-colored light from your throat area into that energy in your hands. Just allowing that acceptance and any healing that might be needed to be brought into that new energy that is rebirthing in your hands. That new you that is allowing that replenishment, that regeneration of the new you to be born out of the old you. Thanking and blessing the energy that was, allowing it to be let go of, and inviting that new energy to be birthed through you as you bring your hands into your heart space and bring in that new energy into the here and the now, as you really give yourself permission to be born anew in whatever ways are for your highest good and the highest good of all around you. Allowing new possibilities to be birthed out of the old, and allowing whatever energy needs to shift and transform to do so for the highest good of all concerned. And then just allowing your hands to come down to rest in your lap or wherever feels comfortable. Just taking a few slow, deep breaths. Thanking yourself and Spirit for allowing things to continue to change in whatever ways are for the highest good of all. And just give your fingers and toes a bit of a wriggle, a bit of a stretch. And just gently open your eyes. Coming fully back into the here and the now. So hopefully you're back here together with all of us here in community, and including those that might be listening, watching this recording afterwards. Those that are live on the call, if you'd like to share anything in the chat box, that would be really beautiful. James made a comment before we went into that visualization that over the past week he'd been releasing grief and didn't realize he'd been holding it from relationships from many years ago. Yeah, so as this energy of letting go is happening around us, it also supports us to do the individual letting go ourselves. So it is really an opportune time to let go of grief or things that we might have been holding on to, and to allow a rebirthing of new energies to come through. Because as we let go, it frees and liberates the energy to be used in healthful ways going forward that support us to build whatever it is, create whatever it is we're moving into next. So would anyone like to share anything in the chat box? How was that experience for you? If you're live on the call, did you find it helpful? Was there anything that came up? Even one word to share, just to help all of us connect in this space. Robin said, yes, lots of insight. Now my body wants to rock side to side at the end of that. Yeah. Is that a soothing rock? Is it a rebalancing rock, Robin? What's your sense of that energy? There might be a delay in me getting the messages through, but hopefully your body is rebalancing. Karis, thank you. You enjoyed it. I hope you found it helpful in some way, shape or form. I know with your business, things are different at the moment, as they are with many businesses. So being able to acknowledge the changes and how that's affecting us is important. Margaret said, weird thinking back to life a month ago and how different it now is. Yeah. And it's not that long ago, is it? Only a month ago. We're only into the second quarter, and I remember driving back from Sydney at the start of the year and being so affected by what was happening with the bushfires, and here we are not that long past, and we're in a very different landscape now, even from the changes back then. Kath said, letting go of expectations of self and plans for what is now truly my gap year. Yes, how can we make good use of this time as our gap year or gap months, however long it might last? Haley, thank you for joining, Haley. Beautiful experience. Like the idea of loving the old and thanking her, but allowing for reshifting a few things when we return to the world. Michelle said, very helpful, thank you, feeling a sense of calm. Yeah, so that calm is a rebalancing. And Haley, your comment about for when we return to the world, sometimes I read posts by people and they're saying, can we just get on with it? Particularly as governments are making announcements at the moment to extend periods of isolation. I know in Victoria the government has announced another month of isolation. And I was talking with someone in New South Wales today, and they said the government there is talking about a much more extended period. So when we do come out of this period, what is it that we want to have birthed on the most subtle levels of who we are? Not just our external life and that exoskeleton, that shell that is the structure of our life, but what do we want to have rebirthed within us, that we are coming into the world anew, and it will be a different landscape, but there are possibilities and opportunities for us to really rebirth who we are at the heart of our being. And this weekend I have certainly gone deeper than I've ever gone before to heal old energies that I've been carrying that I wasn't even aware of, using this time of isolation to go deeper, to grieve, to let go, to rebirth. And I think the more we can do this individually, the more the new energy will be fresh, like the snake with this beautiful new skin coming out, that when isolation period is over, we're able to discover things that we never knew existed within us. And we're in the process of doing that at the moment. Simone said, strange, my teeth started chattering and I can't control them, a little like a nervous twitch, letting energy go. Yeah, I get that shaking, Simone, when I'm really in a fragile place of letting go. And I've actually been doing a lot of that today. Hope you haven't picked up on my energy, but hopefully there's a little bit of a shimmy in that shake, in that fragile new energy of whatever might be rebirthing through you at the moment. Mark said, I'm still sitting with a beautiful slab of malachite, which is perfect for heart space stuff, and the meditation we just went through. Lovely, thanks. The shedding is so important in giving ourselves permission to create and move forward, even amongst time when others are experiencing loss and struggle. This is my struggle to not feel guilt. Yeah. One of the things I would say to that, Mark, is if we are feeling guilt, because every day we're seeing a lot of massive suffering on the planet, is to do that simple process of imagining giving out from the heart love, blessings, light. That's something that we can all do. Thankfulness to those that are in service at the moment, sending out blessings to those who are in transition at the moment, so that we take that energy where we might feel that we're not experiencing the same loss, but we can help those and be of service to those who are experiencing loss, just simply by offering that energy from the heart, from person to person, be that people across the globe, people who are in transition. So it's a lovely gift that we can give, and then we're not in the energy of feeling guilty, but we're actually in the energy of helping and being of service. Robin said, I get the feeling that many of us won't want to return to the same way of life after this. I wasn't able to work from home until now in my job, and that has now changed. Yeah, hopefully there will be a lot of changes that come out of it, a lot of systems breaking down that are rebirthed and born anew into ways that serve the greater good, and some equalizing coming out of this whole process. James, rebirthing soulfulness. It's a beautiful way of putting it. Margaret, it's been wonderful having time to pause and find new creative ways to enjoy life. I really feel the creativity that is coming out of this. I've noticed it myself that creativity requires space. It requires pause. You can't rush creativity. You can't cram it into a time slot. It just doesn't work that way. You know, creative energy is about flow, and we need spaciousness to allow flow. So I feel like there's a real renaissance of creativity, creative energy happening here that hopefully everyone will tap into it. I used to have a belief about creativity. I don't know whether any of you hold this belief, but I used to have a very strong belief that I wasn't at all creative. My mother has always done painting as long as I could remember, and so I had this perception that my mother was creative, but I didn't have a creative bone in my body. But actually I'm very creative. We're all creative. That is part of our source energy, is to create. We just all do it in individual ways. So for us to reconnect with our creativity and provide space for all of that energy to come through at the moment, and to share the creativity that brings so much joy to people, I think that will be part of the shift and change that comes back into society, that we value creativity a heck of a lot more, rather than it being about starving artists, that we find the creativity within us and we value that energy within us. We don't starve it within ourselves, because we're all artists of some shape or form. We all naturally have that creative energy. So let's not starve it. Let's actually give it the space for it to have that oxygen to breathe and to be creative in whatever ways are right for us. Haley said, what are your suggestions for how we can truly go deeper and feel ready to be of even higher service and purpose? Have so many ideas, want to find the balance of going inwards and also being productive and wanting change. Great question, Haley. What I would suggest there is give yourself the space for all the creative energy to come out, and then allow it to sit, because sometimes in our enthusiasm, and I'm certainly guilty of this, in my enthusiasm the ideas come out and I just want to run with them, and then I do, and then sometimes the energy just kind of wanes. So what I would suggest is allow all that creative energy to come out, download it onto pages or documents or however it wants to express itself. Allow the ideas to flow, and then just allow them to sit and see which ones speak to you. Maybe go into meditation and ask the question from your heart space, or connect with your higher self and ask for the guidance. Which ideas do I work with first? And allow your soul to guide that decision process, rather than giving them all energy and dispersing your energy in all different directions that nothing has enough energy to go anywhere. And rather than just grabbing the first one and running off with it with that emotional enthusiasm and excitement, but that's not really the one that your soul is guiding you for. That was just the warm-up. Just allow all the energies to be expressed, to sit for a bit, to percolate, and then tune in and ask for that higher guidance as to which ones to move with first. And let your soul be the guide of that. That would be my answer. I hope that helps. Thank you, Mark. So has that answered your question, Haley? If you want to just add that in the chat box. Just reading your question again. How we can truly go deeper and feel ready to be of even higher service and purpose. So again, to that particular aspect of your question, meditation, contemplation, daydreaming, asking the question of your soul from within your heart, what is my higher service? What is my purpose? What am I here for? Who am I? How am I here to contribute? What is the value that I'm here to bring? How can I share? How can I be of service? Contemplation. When we ask it from the head, we come from the mind and all of our conditioned thinking. Whereas when we connect in with our heart and our soul, we allow our soul to guide that process and what our purpose really is. And sometimes it can be something completely different to what the head might be telling us that it's to be. And particularly at the moment, now is the opportunity for us to be open to anything and everything. Anything is possible right now. We're letting go of all the old structures, they're dissolving. And so this rebirthing energy means anything is possible. So I would encourage you to go as deep as you possibly can in your connection with your soul and allow your soul to birth from that place some guidance as to what your service and your purpose is. Great. Thank you, Hayley. So any other questions? Thank you so much for sharing. I hope you feel the heart connection here. People speak about like-minded groups. My intent is to create a like-hearted community where we can come together, we can connect, we can feel the energy together and know that we are supported. And I would say to all of you and to anyone you know, if you need anything, if I can be of assistance or someone else in the community can be of assistance, please reach out, speak out, send me a message. If I can assist in any way, I will, or if I can connect you with someone that can assist. Or just, for us to be there for each other as a shoulder. We might not be able to hug that shoulder right now, but we can lean on each other's shoulders as human beings going through this journey together. So just a couple of other comments there. No, this Facebook interface is a little bit different tonight, so I know people added some comments or some things there that I couldn't actually see. So I hope this has been helpful for you tonight. If you have any questions at all that I haven't answered, feel free to message me, add them in the chat box at any time. We will meet again next Monday night. I really hope you can join in again. I've loved having the conversation with you and I hope you found it helpful. And if there's any topics you'd like to address or anything pops up during the week for yourself or friends or family that you feel it would be helpful for us to address here or to just ask a question about them, then please, it's my service and my love and passion and commitment to be able to assist with that. And so you'll be helping me help others, and hopefully we all help each other in the process because we are all in this together. Robin said, I agree with being open to everything. I find that a challenge to imagine how different things could be. Ooh, that's a lovely little segue to perhaps what we might do next week. But what I would say to that, Robin, is just give yourself permission. And one of the things I do when I'm doing manifestation coaching is when I take people through a dreaming process to really open up the energy around what the possibilities are. I say, close your eyes, connect in with your heart space. Really give yourself permission to dream. And if you had no fears and there were no limits and absolutely anything were possible, what would you really love to be experiencing? What would bring you joy? What would make your heart sing? What would make your soul sing? So if you're having difficulty at the moment, Robin, imagining how different things could be, give yourself permission to imagine, to play with that, to daydream, to contemplate. If I had no fears, no limits, what might be possible? And to really enjoy playing in that energy. So thank you, James. You love this group. I'm so pleased to hear that. I hope all of you get some benefit from it and that we can come back again next Monday night to play. And just in this space, we have gone from grief and sadness into the energy of dreaming new possibilities and giving ourselves permission to do that via forgiveness and letting go and shedding skin. So what a journey it's been in this 50 minutes. And I've learnt something new dealing with this Facebook interface. So those of you who are watching the recording, thank you for bearing with my comments as I've struggled to understand how this new interface works. And to you who have joined the call live, thank you so much. Have a beautiful week ahead and keep going with the letting go and the rebirthing and see what comes. All right. Thank you so much for joining tonight. I wish you well. Bye.